What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Unwrapped. It's me, Tasha Pierce, and I thank you for joining me once again here at the intersection between pop culture and common sense. And yeah, this has been just like every week since January 20th of 2025. This past week was jam packed with just freaking unnecessary news coming out of the White House. It's always something. It's never a quiet moment. And I'm like last week I was just like I'm through with it. I just took a little break, but now I'm back and I'm not even going to be here for a long time. I'm going to be here for a good time. I'm not a long time. The one thing I want to talk about is the fact that Pope Francis, well, I'm not Catholic, and there are a number of people who might feel one way or the other about the Catholic Church. I'm not Catholic, but I feel like Pope Francis was an example of a progressive pope who truly had the least of us on his mind and his heart at all times, and he passed away on Monday. The one thing I want to talk about is the visit that he got from Vice President JD Vance prior, just prior to his passing. First and foremost, it seemed as if he initially was not going to have a meeting with JD Vance, but then he was allowed to come back. Vance was, and he received a blessing from Pope Francis prior to Pope Francis dying. What I really want to talk about is two things. Two things. Thing number one, Pope Francis was highly protective of the poor, of the immigrant. And for this vice president to be involved in some of the heinous shit that he is doing that affects the poor and that affects the immigrant, affects what was biblically called the least of us. For him to have the stones to want a meeting with the Pope, to me, just screams of somebody who has not read the room. You don't understand that you are the problem that Pope Francis was talking about, JD Vance. Because once upon a time, you felt differently, sir. Once upon a time, prior to the power, the magnetism of the power that Trump offered you, prior to that, you could have been a decent dude. Yeah, you were still Republican, but again, I don't have those archaic beliefs that Republicans are some type of monster. MAGA, I believe that's a full 500 head monster. Republicans, I'm all right with Republicans. But anywho, so you got JD Vance going to see the Pope and the Pope giving him a blessing. And I honestly feel like the Pope felt pressured. Then he passes away. I'm not going to do like everybody else and blame JD Vance for that man's passing. But I'm going to say it didn't do much to help. It did not do much to help the Pope in that situation. The second thing I want to talk about is how the Trump administration, and seems like every member of it, believes that there are a set of rules for everybody else in the whole world and a different set of rules for them. Because JD Vance visited the Sistine Chapel, and in a photograph, he is seen holding his son and looking up at the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. And that is the problem. Because you're not supposed to take pictures inside the Sistine Chapel. In fact, the priests, the Pope, the nuns, the Catholic Church finds it disrespectful to take pictures inside the Sistine Chapel. And if you are visiting the Pope, it is your responsibility as the vice president, as a foreign dignitary, it is your responsibility to know the rules of the land that you are going to visit. It's the same as if I go and visit Dubai. There are certain rules and regulations that do not apply in the United States, but I'm not in the United States. Once I go to their country, I am to abide by their rules. Once JD Vance got his big waterhead ass on that airplane, Air Force Two, once he got on that plane and landed in the Vatican, landed in Rome, that's when he had to flip a switch. That's when he had to know the rules and obey the rules. He had to know what was customary in that holy place and abide by them. And yet, here we are, a person who considers themselves a Catholic, has that little respect for the Sistine Chapel. If anybody is going to hell, JD Vance is going to hell. I said it, I'm calling it first. I don't know how we prove it. If that man croaks tomorrow, he is not going to set foot. He will never, ever, ever see Pope Francis again. According to the official website for the Vatican museums, it is prohibited to take photos inside the Sistine Chapel. It is forbidden to take photographs or films with any type of electronic equipment, the website states, noting that the guard staff has the authority to request the immediate cancellation of videos or photos that are captured in violation of this rule. It goes on to say it is permitted to take photographs for personal and domestic use only of the works in all of the areas of the Vatican Museum, apart from the Sistine Chapel. Flash photography is strictly forbidden. By the way, this photograph was taken by a professional photographer that was accompanying JD Vance on the trip. So I can almost guarantee you it had a flash on it. You stupid bastards. So despite the backlash, the picture was taken by an official White House photographer, meaning she could have gotten permission to take the snap before Vance's visit. But why would you ask to be treated differently than anyone else who visits the Sistine Chapel? See, this is a person who I think if he were in the Garden of Eden, he would have had a real, real hard time staying away from those trees that God said, don't eat off of this one tree. He would have had a hard time staying away from that damn tree, with or without Eve. But this man is an embarrassment. He is an embarrassment to our country. And not only that, they are spoiled, privileged pieces of shit. That is to include Donald Trump on down. We can start with him and move it on down to Pete Hegseth, Keg Breath, whatever that dude's name is. Yeah, he feels like there's a set of rules for the military rank and file members, and then there's a different set of rules for him. There needs to be consequences for some of this stuff. And yeah, we working on consequences as we the people to get them the HE double hockey sticks out of the White House, in fact, out of government. I never want to see JD Vance again. The same way that everybody has ostracized Mike Pence, that's the way I want JD Vance and everybody else associated with this rotten regime. I want them all to get the Mike Pence treatment, but you go ahead on and multiply that by 10, 20. Because one thing about Mike Pence, he didn't play along when the rubber hit the road and we got to disobeying the Constitution. He did the right thing then. Doesn't make up for him standing by and being complicit in a lot of other situations, but he did the right thing then. This group of people, They don't know right. They don't know right. Be like, hey, have you met right? Can't even see right. They don't know right. So all of them need to, number one, go down in the annals of history as traitorous, treasonous snakes. And the second thing is we need to make sure that they are forgotten. Even if we lock them up, we need to throw away the key. As a matter of fact, send them to El Salvador. Sounds like they would love it there.
Every click, every share, y'all make us fly. Together we shine brighter than the sky. From shout outs to comments, we see every word. Y'all the reason Tasha's voice gets heard. Subscribers growing, lighten up the day. With your support, we'll never fade away. Thank you, Unwrapped fam, you keep us strong. Keep us strong. Your love and your faith help us move along. Help us move along. Every click, every share, y'all make us fly. Y'all make us fly. Together we shine brighter than the sky. Brighter than the sky. Roll call for the peeps who keep it alive. Patron super chats all here on the drive. Tasha got the mic, but you fuel the vibe. This channel's a party and y'all keep it live.
Monthly supporters, give y'all a cheer. Live stream energy, you bring the gear. Every episode's magic, cause of y'all's touch.